Right, hello everyone, good morning. It's sunny and it is Sunday. That means it's live Q&A time with me, Arj, the head coach here at Performance Physique. So guys, how's your week been? What have you been up to? I am a bit buzzing this morning. Absolutely fantastic coaching session just completed just now. Seeing real prospects for some of our clients and athletes right now. So we have 4 questions that I want to cover today. Completely changed the format. Today I was going to do a bit of teaching, but instead I want to go through these 4 questions that we've had come in, 3 of them just this morning. If you are watching live, then please, can you comment just saying if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, like, love, haha, wow. And then I'm going to ask another favor of you. Please, can you tag someone in the comments that you think would benefit from watching or joining us live and share this on your feed? It really does mean the world to me when we're able to kind of communicate our message to more and more people. I do love it when we have so many people watching live. And all of you who watch on the playbacks, I'm amazed actually how many people watch this back. But thank you very much for watching back. Remember, you can post questions whilst I'm speaking and I'll do my very best to answer those live. Martin, good morning Martin. Absolute pleasure for you to join us. Ian, likewise, thank you very much for joining us. So hit like, love, haha, wow. Share this on your page. Comment with someone's name so they can join us live as well. I'm going to give everyone a minute just to join in. Usual setup as well here. I've got questions over on this side, a phone over here so I can see what's kind of being posted and that kind of stuff. Fingers crossed, nothing will be missed. Have you got your cup of coffee, cup of tea? It's obligatory Sunday morning Q&As. I'm going to confess as well, one question that I'm going to talk about today wasn't sent to me. One question I saw pop up in a very popular running forum, and I ummed and ahed because it was late Friday evening when it came up in the forum. I ummed and ahed about whether I get into a debate and start trying to help people, because then I thought, it's likely to go on for quite some time because other people will come out with comments which perhaps they think are correct and disagree with what I'm saying. So I thought it's just not worth the pain and suffering for myself and for others. But I thought it would be a very useful discussion for us here on our Sunday morning Q&A, so why not? There's 4 of you watching right now, so Ian and Martin, thank you very much for saying hello. Remember, say hi in the comments and I can be polite and say hi back to you. But we're going to crack on with our first question. Martin, seeing as you're live right now, I'm going to bring up your question. This is Martin who's watching with us. Hopefully this will pop up down here for you somewhere, depending on the device you're watching. And Martin's question is, what are your thoughts on Inertia? I think it's Inertia, isn't it? I think that's how you meant to say it. Inertia running soles, do they work? Really, really good question, Martin. Something I've looked into a little bit in the past. A couple of years ago, I won a pair of their heel cups when they were at the running show in, I think it was January 2018 at the NEC. Obviously, they do their big branding thing of these the insoles that Usain Bolt wears, and at the time he was still a professional athlete, and therefore everyone was like, "Ooh, Usain Bolt." Myself included. I'm very interested in technology. I'm very interested in furthering the kind of running performance and running strategy. So I'm definitely not going to rule these out whatsoever, okay? That's really, really important. These running soles or running insoles are Not custom as far as I'm aware, but they are based on size of footwear, and you slide them into your shoe. They also do these heel cup things, which are like halfway up the foot, ending at the arch, and then they also have released these socks, which are meant to mimic the technology. First things first, insoles, they are never a solution. They're not a solution. You should still be working on strengthening and mobilizing those lower limb joints, okay? Or even anything from your hip, really. Your hip outlines a lot of issues. It travels up to that point. But insoles are a tool that you can use at the same time. Do it concurrently. The Inertia, I'm going to say Inertia. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But the Inertia insole basically says that they have this D30 patented technology that the molecules inside of the type of foam, I'm going to guess it is, on impact, basically collide and become sub-solid and disperses the impact across the whole insole, as opposed to going directly into your joint. On top of that, the structure is obviously developed so that if that's your foot there, look that straight down the lens, if that's your foot there, it holds your arch in the correct location, and it prevents any outward roll, and it prevents the collapse in at the arch. That's what all insoles are effectively trying to achieve. The Inertia one basically states that the harder this impact occurs, the more rigid the insole becomes, and then directs the power outwards. So in effect, saying they claim that it reduces impact on the body, but also increases energy output. So reusing the energy that your body does, exerts, basically goes into the ground, into the floor, and pushes you on further. I am very, very interested. I've looked a couple of times, and also Martin, when you sent the message in this morning, I had a quick look before my training session, my coaching session, and I couldn't find anything still, any academic journals whatsoever looking at this technology. I could only find the patent for them. I'm no doubt going to be contacting, after this Q&A, contacting them, asking for some of the journal articles, because I really like the concept. I do think there is a place for running insoles. I don't think it's a solution. Like I said, I think strength work and mobility work should be at the top of your list. But I just have a question realistically, that if something forms a solid base, because that's how you direct the energy, increasing the energy turnover, then my initial thoughts are that this also would cause greater impact up the joint. You can't do both at the same time. I might be completely wrong. They're saying this is brand new technology, so I need to be completely open with that. That's the disclaimer. I might be wrong, and they have developed something which is absolutely unbelievable in allowing your body to have a higher energy output, be able to turn over that energy, as well as being able to protect the joint or the posterior chain, or whatever the claim is. I did use the heel cups. I used them casually, so in my everyday shoes. I used them for about 6 months and found them a little bit uncomfortable, basically because it cut off halfway up the foot. I found there was a lot of movement as a result, and I wasn't a massive fan of them. But the insoles, I do keep looking at them. I do want to know more about them, and I promise you, Martin, I will be contacting them, asking for some journal articles to basically substantiate the claims. And following that, I might be able to come back to you guys here and say, right, definitely purchase these if you are suffering from whether it's tendonitis or whatever the issue is. But we need to see that clinical evidence first, really. I'm afraid, Martin, I can only give you those thoughts as opposed to conclusive decisions that you are possibly hoping for. But anything more than a normal insole at the moment, I don't know, other than their claims that they make. I hope that's given you something to go away with, Martin. So at this point, please click love, like, haha, wow, share it on your feed. Click the share button. Remember, Facebook loves it when you click share and writes a little message of why you should join. Or comment, say you should check out this Q&A right now. Cool, Martin. I'm sorry it wasn't more conclusive. Right, next question. This one's from Joe. Joe sent me this morning. Hopefully it's going to pop up down here for you again whilst it takes its time to appear there. And it says, Arj, I was concerned you ran on 90 calories on your Strava post. What was that about? So, many of you will know that I have a great fondness for aggressive dieting. I have what I would consider a very good understanding of it as well. Aggressive dieting basically meaning that you cut calories very, very low. You have to do it in a supervised and monitored way. So this isn't for someone to just casually do willy-nilly. You need to have some form of professional supervision to do it, but you cut calories very, very low and you do it for a very short period of time, but it's been shown to improve your longevity of the diet. So basically you have greater adherence to the diet. It's been shown to have greater impacts on the health markers, and it's also been shown to reset your hunger signaling, and therefore you actually do better. There's less bounce back, contrary to all those great nutrition myths that exist. So I did go and run on 90 calories. It's not the first time I've done it, and I've done it many times in the past. This isn't just getting up and running. This was basically, I'd not eaten for 22 hours, consumed 90 calories worth of milk, and then went on a run, did my run, and first things first, it is not good for performance. It is not going to make you a faster runner by training fasted, although the word does exist in it. It's not going to make you faster, it's not going to make you fitter, it's not going to make you lose weight any faster. It's nothing to do with any of those things. If you are looking to be faster, be fitter, work harder, then you need carbohydrate. You need a source of energy coming into the body to power your runs. These people who say you should run or train fasted to lose weight, that's based on nothing. It's based on bro science. The actual science doesn't show that whatsoever. On top of that, there is this tribe, I've spoken about them loads of times, in Kenya, who have shown that they have started to evolve. They basically can adapt to the odd, not regular, odd fasted session. But for the rest of us, no, we need to be taking on carbohydrates for our high energy exercise, particularly when we're training for 60 minutes or more. This was simply an experiment really for me. I was trying out how I felt. I was creating this massive cumulative calorie deficit. So over 4 weeks, a massive calorie deficit. The only thing that I'm benefiting for is from being lighter. That improves my VO2 max, so my maximal oxygen capacity, which is why I've toyed with the idea of doing weight loss for runners, because there are some real benefits from it. But it doesn't need to be that you run fasted or run in that calorie deficit. This was just a pure experiment, Joe. So don't be worried. I know you like to listen to these audio playback as well. So don't be worried. It's not something I recommend you do. We could always do it as an experiment if you wanted. Then, follow-up question. Early morning run, breakfast or no breakfast? I consume a pint of water as soon as I wake. Where's the rest of the question gone? Consume a pint of water as soon as I wake, and then something like a cup of tea and a vitamin drink. I think that's what it was. Basically, you should be consuming food before you run. An hour is a kind of ballpark figure. It depends on individuals, but you're not going to have any major benefits. You're not by training fasted, by training without anything to power your run. It's very, very simple, but your body needs that energy in order to do a good performance, a faster run, a longer run. It won't be able to perform otherwise. Basically consume breakfast. It can be just a small bagel with something on it, jam. Try and reduce your fat sources. So a bagel with peanut butter probably isn't great because that's going to take a longer time to digest and it's probably going to sit a little bit in your stomach as you run. You need to work out what works for you in terms of time period before running. 30 minutes pretty much is always going to end up in gastrointestinal discomfort, stomachache, vomiting, diarrhea, all of those things. And never do these things before a race. You need to practice during training. That's really, really important. But yeah, a pint of water. I like caffeine, so I like coffee basically. So I always have that before I go and run. Like yesterday, I had an espresso before I ran, about 30 minutes before I ran, or 20 minutes before I ran. So it would kick in a little bit later. We were doing an 8K. But make sure you have breakfast if you want to improve as a runner. That's the basic rule. If anyone has any questions on that point and you want further expansion, post that in the comments right now and I will go over any aspects that you want to. Now, look at this. I am blasting through these questions. 1, 2, 3 questions in 18 minutes. 6 minutes a question. Absolutely fantastic. Martin says, I have this debate before parkrun with Andy. He tends to go without food. I always have a piece of toast with ham an hour before. I'd be too weak on nothing, I think, and a few a few dips of coffee. Interesting. Dipping the ham in coffee, Martin. A few sips of coffee. Yeah. So there are large areas of preference. So if people prefer to run, I feel very comfortable running on an empty stomach, but in terms of maximizing performance, oh, jam. Okay, cool. I thought you were going very continental European there, Martin. If it was performance, like a 10K race or something like that, then there wouldn't be a chance that I'd consume nothing and then go run it. Purely because all of the evidence, there's a mountain of evidence which just shows consuming food prior to a race leads to a better result. There's just unarguable evidence. The volume is just like, crushing me. And therefore, I want to do the best in those races. Otherwise, it's eating several hours beforehand. So it might be a preference that you really don't like the sensation of food before you run. So just consume something 2 or 3 hours before you run. The rest of your energy coming through carbohydrate drinks or something to that effect. The sips of coffee, absolutely fine, Martin. You'll find that coffee on its own, it actually has quite a low level of caffeine. So you would need a little bit more than just a few sips. But again, it's something you have to train to do. I've talked about maybe doing this carbohydrate feeding training group that I need to write and need to come up with what it would look like still. But as soon as you start doing something, you suddenly start to realize that actually more and more things have an effect on your performance. So you might find that you felt fine and you did all right with no breakfast before your run, and then fast forward to trying it with 100 grams of carbohydrate, just 100 grams, and then, oh my goodness, I'm really good now. And that's just with 100 grams. And then you slowly start buying into it. It's about having trust and what you feel like gastrointestinally as well. Because no one wants that situation to occur where you're 5 miles away from home and you need the toilet. Right, so this is the question that I saw on a forum and I considered interjecting and then thought, no, I won't, because there was a lot of people taking part, and I thought it's just going to go on forever. And it's late on a Friday night. I should be relaxing, not getting into a debate. I can't think what we watched. We watched something on Friday night. Last night we watched the Olympics Super Saturday and the opening ceremony. I do it all the time. Love it. I fell asleep during it as well. That was no reflection on the opening ceremony. It was just I was really tired. So I've started running more. Hopefully this question is here. I've started running more, but I'm gaining weight. Why? So this was the post. Someone said my body is storing energy because of fight or flight. And then there were responses to that question in the forum which said, Is this, or this is, the case of basically your body knows you're about to go and run, and therefore stores more, so that's why you're gaining weight whilst you're running? This individual replied and said, yeah, every time I've increased my mileage, I've always gained weight, and then more and more people started taking part in this. There's a very, very, very simple reason for people gaining weight when they train, and that's whether it's gym training or running training. It's not unusual as well. There are very different responses to basically exercise on hunger. Some people find that they basically don't need to eat. Their hunger signals drop through the floor, and basically don't feel like eating it, and they have to be forced to consume food. Then there's the polar opposite, the people who get really, really hungry as a result of training. It's very common that when you start training, particularly if you train to lose weight, you will actually gain weight. This is because of our overcompensation. Our brain basically, or we think, I've trained so I can have this food. This is why we never ever, Performance Physique, we never encourage anyone to use exercise and training as your stimulus to lose weight. It should be nutrition, and then the exercise and training benefits it. It's a really important point, that is. That's our key, really. What happens is people think, I've trained so I can have this, or I've trained loads so I probably need this amount of food over here. However, that hour training session burnt 300 calories. The burger eating competition that you're doing over here is 2,000 calories. So you're now actually in a 1,700 calorie surplus, which if you do once a week would mean that in a month that you would gain about 0.7 kilos of just fat, pure fat. Add that to the water and salt content, etc., and then you're looking at like 1.2 kilos of weight gain. That's what happens. The simple thing is you're overcompensating, or this individual is overcompensating the amount of food that they take on as their recovery or as their credit, their deserved amount. Your hunger might go up, and therefore you're just grazing more, you're consuming more. It's not necessarily a conscious thought. This is another strategy, should I say, is that you're just unconsciously, subconsciously grazing and consuming more and more foods to replenish. Can be drinks, can be carbohydrate drinks. Remember, you do not need a carbohydrate drink if you're exercising for less than 60 minutes. You just don't need it, particularly if your training type is weight training, where it's very slow and very short periods of exertion. That is why people gain weight whilst exercising more and running. There's no part in that in which fight or flight occurs. If fight or flight occurs, then fat oxidation, so burning fat, would actually increase because of adrenaline release. So that's out of there. The other person, or other argument where they were saying it's because your body knows you're going to do a run, I'm sorry, then your body isn't Mystic Meg, and that's therefore is saying you need to store this energy just in case of that run. No, that doesn't happen either. Remember, we're constantly in a state of balance. We're trying to return to balance each time. That's how blood glucose works, etc. You're just consuming a calorie deficit, a calorie surplus. You're just consuming a calorie surplus, and that's where the weight gain is occurring from. So try to make a particular attention to your refeeding, so your recovery after a training session, and your grazing habits. If you notice the scales just keep going up, 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 and up, it is likely to be that. The second reason would be water retention from the stress of training, but that's a much, much more complicated thing, and it would definitely be the last thing I would look at. Right, I hope that has cleared up a few points for you today. We've had 4 questions. If you have a question right now, I'm going to give you 60 seconds. I know there's a delay here, so I'll stay on a little bit longer, but 60 seconds to post your question in the comments. Hit like, love, haha, wow. I really do appreciate it when people share this feed and share the live Q&As. I want to know that we're making a difference. There's only 2 of you on live right now, so thank you very much. Martin, if you are one of those, thank you very much for joining us. If you're on the replay, then by all means, write your question in the comments and I will do my best to answer that next week on the live Q&A. You have 60 seconds to post a question, starting now. enjoy some more caffeine. Deliberately made sure I didn't have an extra cup of coffee during coaching, because then that would have made 4 cups of coffee in the space of about an hour and a half or so, which is plenty, trust me. I think that's a record for me. 4 questions in 26 minutes. I'm getting good at this. I am actually planning today. I'm starting to design a calf training program, because the calf is so important for running injuries. So preventative and rehabilitative. I have designed a plantar fasciitis, shin splints and calf program before. And that still has people purchasing it like as they go. It's a nice session using lacrosse balls and foam rollers and stretches and mobility exercises. It's a really good one. I really enjoy that. But I'm looking at doing something just dedicated to calf strengthening. So if that does interest people, always let me know. Someone's just joined just as we're wrapping up. Say hello and I'll say hello back. But we have discussed 4 different questions today, so you can always go back pressing, it's probably over here I'm guessing, the button, and that takes you back and you can catch up with those points basically around eating before running, eating breakfast, gaining weight whilst training, and also running soles. Those have been our topics today. Last 10 seconds, if anyone has any live questions they want answered. Righty-o. I can see the feed that you guys are receiving. I can see it's almost caught up with my last warning. So, pop those questions in. Joe's joined us. Hey, Joe. The questions, Joe. How weird, it shows on one screen and not the other. There we go. Excellent, Martin. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. This was Q&A with Performance Physique. My name is Arj. I hope you all have a fantastic Sunday. I'm off to mow the lawn because I love the lawn, and my parents are going to come and join us in the garden today for the first time in ages. Right, take care. Enjoy your Sunday, guys. Bye-bye.